Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm Jim Goddard. Welcome back to the show, John.
Jim, pleasure to be back.
John, Zephyr Minerals published news for its Dawson Green Mountain project in Colorado. Do we have a geophysical target to get excited about?
Jim, we do have reason to be excited about it, but we will have to wait to actually have that excitement fulfilled. The Dawson Mountain project is in Colorado, and we introduced it in May to Discovery Watch because this gold project had taken on a brand new spin to it as a result of work done last year. Now, just to give some background, Zephyr Minerals has had this project for a number of years, and it's been focused on something they call the Dawson segment, which is a shear zone within which there are these high-grade gold lenses, but the whole thing dips into a mountain, and they've only been able to chase it down to about 275 meters. It takes some possibly long holes to get it, and they put together a PEA a number of years ago, a really small-scale thing, 300 tons per day. Was going to mine about 111,000 ounces over 5 years. The numbers weren't particularly great at $1,250 gold. They're probably better today at $1,500 gold. But an alternative idea was to, maybe we can just mine it and ship the ore to Newmont's Cripple Creek facility about 60 kilometers to the north. But they wanted several 100,000 ounces outlined, and because they weren't able to go deeper by drilling, they did some work to chase it along strike, and they did that in 2017, early 2018, but that did not work out. They would like to develop it as an underground mine because that would give them access to the deeper ore, because this is a mesothermal system where the gold zones can go 1,000, 1,500 meters deep, and so there was probably going to be a lot more than just 111,000 ounces of 10 gram per ton gold. So they were kind of stuck, though. They couldn't go deeper. They didn't find anything along strike. So last year they looked at the what they call the Green Mountain segment, which is off to the west. And this is an area that has had a copper mine, high-grade copper mining done in the past, nothing serious, very small scale, and it had the same sort of geological context as they had on the Dawson segment. So they said, what if a similar horizon that's got these this gold shear zone with these lenses in it exists, and there is some small evidence for it. So they were able to acquire it, and while they were doing that last year, it came to the attention of Dr. Paul Spry, who is an expert on broken hill systems, and he's done work on Colorado and established that there is this spinel mineral called gonite, which is associated in certain chemistry ratios is associated with the Broken Hill type deposits in Australia, such as Broken Hill itself and the Cannington deposit. And these are former SEDEX deposits, zinc, lead, silver, that have undergone metamorphism, have been folded upon themselves so that they undergo a thickening. The massive sulfides have been remobilized and concentrated. So you end up with something better than a typical SEDEX deposit. So he discovered that they had this zinc horizon called the El Plomo segment, which they had looked at decades ago, which Phelps Dodge had drilled a few holes into. And this was a down-drop block between the Green Mountain segment to the west and the Dawson segment to the east. It was Proterozoic gneiss, the same age as the Broken Hill deposit. In fact, this part of the United States was back then attached to Australia. And so when they looked at all this, they got pretty excited because this narrow horizon of zinc lead mineralization that these guys had traced along the sort of 3-kilometer trend of this El Plomo block, there was also a gonite associated with it. And so Dr. Spry said, you may have a broken hill system here. And, they had done some work in the late sort of 80s, but nothing was ever done because although the zinc, lead, silver mineralization was, fairly high grade, it was fairly narrow, and it was going to have to be an underground mine, and they said, well, this is pointless. Who cares? So, but when they got this idea that there might be a Broken Hill deposit, and this is the edge of it, and there could be structural thickening at depth, and the only way you can really tell is with a geophysical survey, and whatever pyrite and that is in the original Sept deposit, when it undergoes this metamorphism, it changes to pyrrhotite, which is more magnetic. So they said, let's conduct a geophysical survey, and see if we do see evidence for this structural thickening, so that we can go in there and do a drill program. And they just released the results of this program, and indeed it does show that for at least 2/3 of this zinc, lead, silver trend, there is a magnetic anomaly associated with it. It seems to get wider as it approaches the Graben fault on the east of which, of course, there is nothing related to this, and the anomaly does pass across the fault boundary, so they're not quite sure what's going on there. But in the middle part, they can see to the south of the trace at surface a magnetic signature that suggests a reasonable width, and because they know the system dips to the south, this is where you would expect to see. So they regard this as confirmation that there is some sort of structural thickening going on at depth, and they need to step back and drill a number of angle holes into this to see if indeed the grades that they get at surface start showing up at much thicker widths. So that's the exciting part. The unexciting part is that you can only drill in this El Plomo area between July 1st and October 31st, because this is very rugged, steep terrain, which is also habitat for bighorn sheep. So the rest of the year, you're not allowed to do any work there. And since this is like end of August, early September, the BLM portion of the property will take at least 6 months to permit. The state portion that they were able to deal with, it could be done quicker, but there's no point doing a drill program that's only going to tackle half the target. So what they're going to do is get set up, get the permitting done for first thing in July of next year. They will drill from 4 to 5 locations, a number of angle holes to see if indeed this target is a big Broken Hill discovery. And they're even staking claims to the south of this, which is on garbage ground that has no prospectivity for anything, so that they can drill these angle holes, because you can't drill holes from ground that you don't have claims on. So they're getting that all set up. So they're doing everything to get ready for what will be a big play next year. And if anybody's concerned that, if you have these bighorn sheep on this mountain, are you ever going to be building a mine here? Well, first of all, it's not going to be open pit. And secondly, to eventually delineate it, they'll have to drive a decline into it and drill it from underground. But the decline will come from far enough away from a portal which will be nowhere near. These bighorn sheep will never know that they're gallivanting on top of a world-class mine. So we'll have to see what happens there. But what does the company do in the meantime? Well, they had launched a sampling, mapping, prospecting program on the Green Mountain segment. And here they had some bad luck that was a setback. The VP of Exploration, Mark Graves, and his assistant, Trevor, who is the master's student of Dr. Spry, a former Afghan vet, they were out there doing the mapping and prospecting. They'd hiked in quite a bit. And then Mark had the misfortune of stepping literally into a snake pit, in this case a rattlesnake pit, sustained 2 bites, one a really bad one. And he couldn't even walk out. Trevor had to pick him up and literally haul him out of the bush like it was some scene back from Afghanistan. It was a very serious. He basically saved Mark Graves' life because when they got him into the hospital and he was unconscious. He was unconscious for 5 days and is still recovering. So the whole plan of getting the Green Mountain area, which you can drill all year ready, and get some drilling going, well, that has suffered a setback, and they'll have to wait and see when they can go in there and finish the mapping and sampling. But if they've got enough of a target there, they could, benefit from a rising gold market by going in there and testing these targets to see if they can maybe find similar, 200,000 ounces in that Green Mountain segment to the west, so that that could better support a mining scenario for the whole Dawson gold potential.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, Highway 50 is starting another drill program at its Monroe zinc-lead-silver prospect in southeastern BC. Will this be the last one?
Well, Jim, it could be the last one for a couple of reasons. One is that the Leask brothers think that they have a target in the sight of their sniper rifle, that if they can just get the drill hole where they think the deposit is, and that they're looking for something that might be half the size of the 150 million ton Sullivan mine, they could deliver a major discovery, or they could kill it and be able to walk away. But there's another reason this could be the last one, because the option agreement that the Leask brothers signed with Highway 50, whereby they optioned 50% of the Monroe project to Highway 50 for $2.9 million of exploration to earn 50%. That was done in May of 2016 with a 4-year term that ends early May of next year. And Gord Leask estimates that after this program, which may be about $300,000 or so, they will still have $900,000 left to spend to vest. And this program, they just started drilling the first hole. It is a deep hole. They're aiming at a target that's 700 meters deep. And here's where the frustration comes in. In 2017, they pulled a couple holes which really got them excited. They pulled some more holes in early 2018, and they've been chasing a geological model in this area. It's had over 50 holes done in it by previous operators, including a company they had a couple decades ago, but most of those holes were shallower. And John and Gordon Leask, they're real sort of experts in the what makes the Sullivan deposit tick, and that was an absolute world-class deposit. I think it operated for 100 years before it ended up running out of ore. But they realized that as they studied the geology that they were getting in the holes, and these guys don't think too much of geophysics, and I don't think they have much of a geophysical target in this particular area, but they ended up vectoring in on an area underneath Monroe Lake. And this has become an annoying inconvenience because it's difficult to drill through the lake except during winter if you can build up enough ice or maybe get a barge in there, and they haven't really wanted to do that. But last fall, they went in there with a program that was, described as this is a make or break. It'll take several holes. It's either there or it isn't. But that's where Mother Nature got in the way and said, we're going to make life difficult for you. So they lost the first hole, and they need to they were drilling from the west side of Monroe Lake, and they said, okay, so we'll move over, and then that hole, they got to 1,000 meters. The first one only got to about 400 plus meters, but there's a gabbro dike that sits in that Graben fault of that basin where they think the Sullivan-style deposit is located. It ended up grabbing the drill bit, and the drill bit never got through it to that target area underneath this zone of albanitization that they think is the hanging wall of the system. And they have lots of zinc lead vein type smoke all in the upper part of it, so they know that something's going on here. So they stepped across the lake 600 meters and drilled a hole from there, and that only got to 400 plus meters, and they lost it also. So it's if this target does not want to reveal itself as a deposit, whether it is there or not. And they didn't do anything earlier this year, which was frustrating because their Golden Brew project in Nevada, Regulus, its partner, which can earn 50% by spending $5 million, it started drilling in April, and they love this project, this Golden Brew project, almost as much as they do the Monroe. They think it's the one place in Nevada outside of Newmont and Barrick's holdings where you'll find another world-class Carlin-type system. And that started drilling in April, but we didn't get the bad news until August that there was nothing really there. And the hope was that if they got any joy there, they would be able to finance Highway 50 to go to work on the Monroe project. So now they're stuck with this 10 to 20 cent stock. They only have 47 million shares fully diluted, but the market says, well, we don't think Golden Brew is any good. Regulus doesn't have to spend more money until 2022. It's got its own Antiquary copper gold project in Peru where it is focused, and there's this $75,000 annual lease payment that's due in January, and they probably will drop it, which means you're going to be on the hook for this. So the company's saying that, okay, we've kept the structure low. We only have less than 50 million shares out. We'd love to be something like Great Bear, which can go up and really impress the market because we can actually get a high stock price, which you don't really get with companies that have hundreds of millions of shares outstanding. So they dug into their own pockets and coughed up much of just under $300,000 at 15 cents, and they have started this hole, and they're again drilling from the west side. They've got a shallower angle, 65 degrees, which they hope can make through it. They won't really be at target depth if nothing goes wrong until October. They think there's two potential target centers under Monroe Lake. So if this one misses, they still have a shot at the other one if it turns out there's nothing there. They do think that sitting there is a deposit about half the size of Sullivan. The missing half would have been on the other side of the Moyi Fault, which drops everything down several thousand meters, so it's basically gone. So we'll find out probably early November whether they got anything here. If there are no problems, they'll be able to get that second hole going. But if they emerge with this view that we still think there's something there, we haven't killed it, but we don't have time, really, nor the funding to spend $900,000 to get this so that you can vest. So there's going to come a crunch period where the Least brothers are going to have to step away from Highway 50 and either out of charity grant an extension to this deal, in which case Mark will say, fine, we'll finance you at 10 cents and we'll blow up your share structure that way, or not finance it at all. So there's a possibility that they might say, or their own family might say, well, if you think it only takes another hole or two, let Highway 50 default. You're the biggest shareholders of Highway 50. Go to work on the Golden Brew project, which you think is really great. And then your interests are aligned with that of every other shareholder. Or, and this is what I've been suggesting, renegotiate the deal so that you get an extension to vest for 50%, but allow Highway 50 to step up to something like 70 or 80% by funding whatever it takes to get to to an economic production decision, maybe pre-feasibility study, and carry the lease brothers with a minority stake. And then, of course, any other big company, if there's a big discovery like the Hermosa Taylor that Arizona mining discovered, then a big company can go after the company, maybe do a strategic investment, get the money there. Because if they do have a Sullivan-type discovery at this depth of 700 meters, it will cost $50 million plus to properly delineate that. But from our Discovery watchers and existing shareholders, the situation right now really requires this hole that they're drilling to pull a barn burner discovery hole for all these other problems to become academic.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Abin Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Abin's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abinresources.com.
Grand Portage Resources' Herbert Gold Project in southeast Alaska highlights increased gold resource, indicated and inferred, of 860,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams per ton gold. Expansion drilling is planned on the Herbert Gold property for the summer of 2019. Grand Portage Resources trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, Balmoral Resources announced results yesterday for Area 52. Did the aliens next door in Area 51 intervene and force the stock down? What happened to the visible gold in the core?
Well, I think poor Darren Wagner must think that his Area 52 project was subject to an abduction by the Walbridge people, whose Area 51 is a new zone to the west of their Fenelon project, where they have been chasing these very high-grade quartz veins and want to put them into production. And earlier this year, Area 51 emerged as a result of Walbridge drilling some angled holes through into these rocks to the west and encountering gold mineralization, which was actually pretty good grade. And there's this monzonite unit next to this sediment unit, and it's got this swarms of vein in there with lots of sulfide, but it has good gold values. And Balmoral, which owns that whole Grasset project complex surrounding the Fenelon project, which they once owned but sold to Walbridge because they themselves didn't really want to deal with developing, what might be 100,000 high-grade ounces. They're not really miners. They're explorers. They want to find something and then have it developed by somebody else. Well, they looked at this and said, this area to the west of Fenelon, it probably projects onto our property and probably continues in what they call the Sunday Lake Deformation Zone, which is this area just to the north of the Sunday Lake Fault, which itself, will never have any gold in it, but all the messiness to the north of it, well, that hosts the Detour Lake gold system, which was turned into a large, multi-million ounce a gold mine. And this area to the south of Fenelon, it's basically a swamp, overburdened and swamp covered. There's no outcrop. They have 100 kilometers of land tracking the Sunday Lake deformation zone and its adjoining fault. And so they came up with this idea. Let's call this project Area 52, And let's drill a couple holes just south of the Wallbridge boundary. And then also we have this interesting resistivity anomaly in that Sunday Lake Deformation Zone. We'll also poke a hole into that. Well, the first hole that they drilled it very close to the boundary. They did get gold, some visible gold in it. And then the second hole that they drilled, they really didn't get any visible gold. And when the assays came out, it was pretty disappointing what they got in this so-called Area 51 target. And the market reacted negatively to this because they thought, okay, you're going to have a continuation of what the Wallbridge has on its Area 51, but the first hole had missed the monzonite unit, which is an important host for this style of mineralization. The second hole was a bit farther to the south, but it also seemed to miss it, which is why it got nothing. And then the fourth hole, which they went all right back to the boundary and they drilled underneath, stepped back and drilled underneath. Well, they didn't really get anything resembling that, 1 meter of 9-gram gold or whatever it was that they had in the Area 51 mineralization. But the hole number 3, where they turned it around from the hole number 2 pad and drilled to the south, targeting this resistivity anomaly, this hit a shear zone. And given that there was nothing known about this rock, they had an interval 3.29 meters of 14-gram gold. That's almost a half an ounce. And if you can stretch it to 9.65 meters, it was 5 grams per ton. It's fairly shallow, 130 to 140 meters deep. So although Darren Wagner was disappointed that Area 52 didn't yield anything like what Area 51 was yielding, this was an important discovery, and he was not particularly happy that the stock sold off in response to this news. But it is a significant discovery. When he was at the Metals Investor Forum a week ago, he told everybody we're starting a second follow-up drill program. We've got 6 holes planned. We're going to set up drill pads 25 meters to the west, 25 meters to the east. We need to understand the geometry of the zone. Which way is it dipping? We assume it's striking east-west, and is there a plunge to it where there's a richer sort of chute within it? We need to start understanding what this is. Now, for the Detour Lake fans, they were disappointed that this hole just got this one high-grade interval, because what they're really looking for is a whole bunch of short high-grade intervals that can be averaged out into a bulk tonnage type deposit. So far, this is not looking like a bulk tonnage type deposit, but it looks like a new high-grade zone hosted within a shear system. It's more the traditional type of quartz carbonate vein type of mineralization. It's not like this Area 51 mineralization, which also has copper, zinc, and moly values. So this is I think a new budding discovery that we should pay attention to. And in the case of Balmoral, you get all the other parts of the company, the Grasset nickel deposit to the east, the Martinair gold deposit to the west, which has 644,000 ounces, and they need to do deeper drilling. They will probably double that. But until the market starts to believe that gold is in a sustainable uptrend, both of those, the nickel and the copper, are going to be these optionality plays, but the company has plenty of money to carry on. It does have a new focus in its Area 52, and it's not quite what they expected, but it is something positive, and we'll have to watch carefully to see if this zone starts to develop some size and an understanding that allows them to mount a much bigger program later this year.
John, thanks a lot for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at howstreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.